This is a really fun way for me to chat with friends, Adrianna, but also to really get to know my friends better in a way that I get to ask questions that you don't normally get to ask, kind of over dinner or drinks or whatever. And I get to really dive in and be kind of an interrogator, which is kind of fun.
So fun.
Interviewer, interrogator. So I've known you, Adrianna, for a very long time, but I've kind of in many ways known you as a partner or wife. But in the last year, I've gotten to know you a lot better, which is really fun and really exciting for me. And now I consider you a much younger friend. You're a decade younger than I am. So it's really exciting to have a friend who's about to turn 40, which to you, I don't know what it seems like to you, but to me, it seems like you're very young and very bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, which is cool. And it makes me feel young and exciting too. But your career to me is really phenomenal. And I think for a lot of people, it will be too. So I think we should start with that. And if you'll sort of start with pre-career, just sort of give me your background and who you are and how you went into your career. I just sort of start with that. And even where you're from, I think is exciting, and your love of all things beauty and makeup and fashion and how that led you into your world. So let's just get into it and dive in and tell us.
So much. I love this question because it's a big part of who I am. And I think there's definitely reasons why I went into beauty. So I'm originally from Arizona. I am an only child. My mom was a single mom. So, we spent a lot of time together, and she was really my first beauty muse, right? I would remember sitting on her bed, watching her do her makeup. And I grew up in the 80s. So she was dynasty queen, big hair, red lips, red long nails, shoulder pads, big chunky gold jewelry. This was my mom. I'm also a Latina. So my mom's side of the family is Mexican. And in our culture, we're very passionate, vivacious people. And part of that is your appearance, right? So I remember my mom always saying, you always go anywhere you're going overdressed. You never want to be underdressed. You always have to be done. And now, I feel maybe that led to a little bit of my perfectionism. But her whole note was that you always want to put your best foot forward, put your best self forward. You're meeting new people every day, right? So make sure that you have a respect for yourself and that you're always presentable and respectful to wherever you're going. And that confidence will carry through, right? So whoever you're meeting with, always make sure you give them your best self. So anyway, that was the whole idea around, beauty. And then, when I was in dance and all the things, my mom would, put on these elaborate makeup routines. And I just was obsessed. I would get into it and be, playing with her things. And my mom was great about, she never said, no, oh God, that looks horrible. Or, oh, yikes. What are you doing? That's way too much. She would kind of say, oh, okay, if that's what you want to wear, great. She kind of let me do my own thing and let me go through stages of life. So if I had some style or some makeup, I remember when I wasn't allowed to wear makeup till I was 13, I think. And that I think was just eyeliner. In any event, in high school, I had these elaborate makeup routines. I would flip through Vogue or, V magazine or whatever. And I would say, oh my God, this is so beautiful. And, whatever couture shoot in the back of the book, looked like, I was like, oh, I'm going to match this for a Tuesday at my private Catholic school. Why I chose that, I have no idea. In any event, my mom would say, oh, are you sure that bright purple is really a good idea? I'm like, yeah, Mom, I'm living my best life every day. And she was like, okay, great. If that's what you, she knew she trained me to be that way. So I was like, okay. She was like, fine, if that's what you want to do. So, and I think it just carried, on. I just really loved it. In college, I, was doing makeup at the counter, and it was my happy place, to be able to transform people. And I remember once being at the counter, this woman came in and she had, some scarring on her face, I think burns or something. And she was kind of timid and shy to come up to the counter because it can be intimidating. You see these people and they're done up and all these things. And maybe they have too much makeup on or they don't have enough or, it's kind of intimidating. So she came in and I said, I looked at her in the eye and I said, how can I help you today? What are you here for? And she was like, I went through this whole thing with my skin. I had this burn and I don't really know where to begin now. And I sat with her for like an hour and we talked through it. And, she walked away and she was smiling and felt happy and confident. And, that was huge for me to be able to, I think when a woman feels her absolute best, the most beautiful, she is powerful. She can take on anything. She feels her best self. She feels that she can accomplish whatever. She's not fearful of, well, I'm not good enough or I'm not that. So to be able to give someone that and show them and train them how to do it on themselves so that they can live their best life or be their best self or put their best self forward every day, what a gift, right? So it kind of just continued from there. I went to college and I originally was in fashion PR and that was so great. And, I moved to New York and it was exciting and fun, but it was fashion PR. I thought, I need to bring it back to basics. I need to go back to beauty. So I left fashion and I started doing makeup at the counter again after college. And, I just kind of was scouring the job boards. There was one particular beauty house that I had worked for, when I was at the counter. And so I would just kind of scour their boards every day and kind of see what positions came up. And, position came up in corporate sales at Clinique. And so I did all the networking and all the things and tried to figure out who works there and who's here and who's that. And I just, was fearless. I tapped my network and I asked everybody and I told everybody what I wanted to do. And eventually I got an interview and then I got the job and that was my foot in the door. Did I want to be in corporate sales? At the time, no, I had this, my background is in marketing PR. So I wasn't exactly it, but it was my foot in the door. And honestly, it was incredible. I was at the Estee Lauder companies for 10 years and I feel like it was my masterclass in learning the business. That's kind of where I was until now. Happy to go into what my new thing, but this is your show, Amy, so you tell me.
I love my show. How'd you get your hustle?
I think it was, growing up in Arizona and seeing kind of, I was a big fish in a small pond. And, I'd visited New York after high school with some friends, and I just was attracted to the pulse of the city and the diversity and everything. It was like organized chaos of there's a million people and they're going 10 different ways, but it kind of just flows. And so I knew in my heart, okay, that's where I need to be. That's where I somehow need to get there. And so I took a look around in Arizona and I thought, wow, like this is so great. And my family is here and I love them, but like, it's time for me to go. And so I knew if I needed to go, I needed to save money. And I got 2 extra jobs. And then I transferred to school out in New York. And when I was in New York, I always had my internship and another job. And, I was going to school full time. And that was just like, that was New York. And that was like my dream. I knew what I wanted. And I didn't want, and people told me, oh, New York's expensive or, oh, you'll not make it there or you'll be back soon. And that kind of was my ammo of like, you know what, maybe you wouldn't make it there, but that's not going to happen to me. Like, I don't want this life. Like, I want to see the world and have new experiences and meet people. And like, life is so precious. Why be in one place your whole life? So I think that was my hustle of my dream of knowing what I didn't want, but also being hungry for what I did want.
And your hustle shows like you're a tough cookie and but you're a tough cookie in a soft veneer, you are. You're like, you're going to get what you want because you're going to work hard, not because you're going to like bulldoze, but you're going to work hard to do it. And it shows like that's who you are. And it's cool. It's very attractive as a friend. Like it's a very attractive quality for sure. Like it makes sense to me that you have a mom who said to you, my mom was the same. My mom, and I think I don't have daughters, right? I have 3 boys, so I didn't get to translate it into my kids. But my mom was very clear on this sense of, like if you're not feeling great, pull yourself together. and it might make you feel better. And when I was in a stage of my life in my early teens, or like in that like crummy stage where you're like awkward and going through your puberty and whatnot, I remember being like, you're so shallow. Like, that's not true. But I realized, as I was older and certainly as a grown woman, like it is like, if you pull yourself together and you feel like you're going to look your best, like there's an extra spring in your step, and it does bring a power to you that if you don't feel it inside, it kind of like pulls it out, right? And beauty does come from within, but sometimes if you don't feeling that power and that beauty within, you have to like put it on, right? And it doesn't mean you have to like be fake. You just have to like get it together, like get your shit together. I think I was 15 or 16 and I have blonde eyelashes, when my mom was like, never leave the house without mascara. Like, that's it, And I don't think I have since then. Maybe first thing in the morning if I'm going to work out and I don't wear makeup to work out. But after that, like, I've never left the house without mascara, pretty much. And if I have, as we were saying earlier, like I've worn very dark sunglasses where you can't tell. But that's pretty much it. And I think there's something to be said. My mom's other thing was always wear a matching bra and undies, because if you get into a car accident, you don't want, you end up in the hospital, you don't want the doctor to see you not in a matching set, which I always thought was
so
totally
funny.
ridiculous. And I have not followed that, but still, one of those funny Linnyisms, as we say. But there is this sense of like real power from that. And I think it does give you this like kick in the butt, and this like, I'm going to go and I'm going to get it done. And I'm going to be this person who like has this force and this will, and I'm going to be a force to be reckoned with. But I'm going to have this veneer on me that's also like soft and lovely and kind, and I'm going to work with you, and I'm going to be this wonderful person, because that's part of who I am as well. I'm not just this like hard, tough person. I'm a tough cookie, but I'm like soft and delectable too. And that's certainly who you are. So you were really into makeup. I can't picture you with like purple eyeshadow, but I kind of want to see the pictures.
I'll show you.
I want to see them. Maybe bright red lipstick for sure, but I can't see the purple eyeshadow. But I do know that I know that time, and there was the 80s, and I wore blue eyeshadow and green. Everyone was like, the green will bring out the green in your eyes. I mean, it's just awful.
No, not true. Yes.
You worked the beauty counters, and then you worked for Clinique. And then where did that lead? Because you work for other companies too.
So when I was at Beauty Counter, I was at MAC. So I always say like, once a MAC girl, always a MAC girl. That's kind of where I started, my career in beauty, I guess. And
MAC was really cutting edge when it
was.
MAC was
and that's
really
what really
cutting edge.
attracted to me. Like their motto, I think it's changed a bit since, but it was all sexes, all races, all, there's one more. My MAC girls would be mad at me, but like, it was inclusive to all, like all skin tones, all genders, all, walks of life. And so I really liked that. And I also liked the people that I worked with there. It was literally everyone. And so it just is nice perspective, and you just feel like it was just like a family. And so after that, I went to Clinique, and I was doing corporate PR there, and I was supporting the SVP of sales for the Northeast and her team of sales directors. And that was amazing. I mean, I think every woman, what an iconic brand. I think every woman has a Clinique story. At least one product in their life that they use or used at one time or continue to use. So it was a real privilege to be there, and it taught me so much. So I was with the Clinique brand the longest when I was at Estee Lauder. And then from there, I went into a marketing role that covered, it was like multi-department, multi-branded, kind of multifunctional role. And so I covered the Clinique, MAC, Bobbi Brown, and Glam Glow brands. And so there, that was kind of nice. It was kind of like essentially running your own business. So I handled promotional sets. So Mother's Day, holiday, gift with purchase. And then I handled MAC. It was coming to our department and opening at like the military bases. So we had some accounts there. So that was really special. Bobby Brown, my colleagues kind of more handled that brand, but I did more of like, if we had PAs or, Bobby at the time was with Estee Lauder, so we would do some of the PAs with her then. And then Glam Glow was new. It was new to Estee Lauder also. So it was expanding their distribution in our smaller, like boutique companies. And that was really great. I loved my job there because you were kind of touching on a little bit of everything: education, sales operations, marketing, advertising. And so that was very, very cool. And I managed my own budget there. And in fact, we had like a trio, and our manager at the time, our director, she has become a great friend. And in fact, she like moved to Denver not too long ago. And so we still see each other. And I often call her, with things now, like, what do you think? Or what's your thought? And so it's been great. The Estee Lauder family is still there. And after that, I went on into the like fragrance, designer fragrance group. And that was kind of nice because it was kind of rounding out my experience. And so I had skincare, makeup, and now fragrance. And that fragrance is really beautiful. It's a really beautiful medium. There's a lot of storytelling and notes and layering, and it's this really romantic sense. It's nostalgic and just beautiful. So I'm really glad that I, kind of went into that role, but again, in marketing. And so I worked with variety of different retailers and highbrow and lowbrow. And so it was awesome. And then from there, I was at Estee Lauder and they were making some changes and restructure and reorgs. And so, they asked me, would you come to this other brand and this and that? And I thought, I'd moved in the pandemic. And so I thought, why not see what's here in my environment? And, if there's something I'd like. And I don't know that at that time it was fine to work from home, but being in Denver, I don't know. It would have been like the Zoom girl all of the time, which was fine. And they were happy with it. But I just thought, I need to take a step back and see what's here. So I did. And I took a look around and there wasn't anything that kind of, met my interest. And so I decided to start my own business. And so the idea was, I have two little girls and they are 8 and 5, but, they've always kind of been in my things and my beauty products and things. So I thought, why not create a product or products, a clean play makeup, for kids that they could play with because they're in your things anyway. And why not have something that's made for them, but also safe, right? Safe, fun, quality. So the packaging is beautiful, but also like, I come from prestige makeup. So I want to make sure that it's something that's quality for them and not going to hurt them and not going to stain all of the things because as a mom, that's annoying. So that's kind of where I'm at now. And so I'm going down this journey. I'm a one-man show at the moment, but, I'm learning as I go. It's so funny. I feel like, I'm like working in a vacuum. A lot of times I have so much experience with working with these other groups, but I was never, I wasn't in packaging. I had exposure to them, but now that I'm doing it all, it's like, wow, this is a whole, at Lauder, we had everything in-house. So now it's me trying to like figure it out. And it's really, really fun. And in fact, because I love it so much, it doesn't feel like work to me. It's a fun challenge, but sometimes, it can feel a little lonely when you're the sole founder person.
It is. So how do you start? Like, where did you start?
So it's funny, I had this like vision. My husband and I got our kids for, I think it was like a holiday. They got this little makeup set. It was like a tin set with lip glosses in it and chapsticks. And my husband thought, oh, this is really cute, but like you could do this better. And I thought, yeah, okay, he's just saying that to be nice. And literally like the next day I was doing like a meditation or something and it came to me, everything came to me, the name, how I wanted it to look, what I want it to smell like, taste like, feel like, look like, the whole like 360 marketing campaign was like in my head. So I like got up and wrote it down and took all my notes and I told my husband and I said, oh, remember you were telling me that I should do this? And I said, what do you think about it? I like pitched him on it. He was like, this is amazing. What do you mean? You just thought of this? I'm like, yeah, I don't know. I think it's a cool idea. And he's like, no, I think this is great. So what I did was I kind of just, again, went out to my network of people and either business owners or, family members or people in the industry. And I kind of was like, where do I start? And I think the best advice was like, write down all the things that you need to do and put them kind of like in pillars, right? To kind of organize yourself. And based off your knowledge, like each step, what it takes. So I literally have this like 15-page document with like all the things. And so it was kind of like, okay, organize all the things that you think that it requires to build a brand, but also a product, and then try to cross off as you go. So I started with like, okay, I asked a friend to help me with a logo. I gave him a pitch book of like, this is my idea. He used to work with me on other brands. So he helped me with the logo. So that was iteration one. And then I, went and registered my EIN. And then as I'm talking to people, I'm kind of like gathering more information. But I don't know, I'm just like making it up as I go and trying to figure it out. And sometimes, my brother-in-law, who is my oldest brother-in-law, he's like, whatever you can do, who's an entrepreneur, I asked him, I interviewed him, I'm like, how should I kind of get this going? He's like, whatever you should try to fail cheap. So, take risks, but if you can take a risk that's cheap, that's not going to bankrupt your idea, then do it. Try it, see how it works. Also another friend of a family member, she's an entrepreneur also, she said, find out what you want, but find out what your customer wants, right? Like, what are these moms, what are they looking for? What are the kids looking for? The kids aren't buying it. So your target audience is a mom or someone who is buying, as a gift. So what are they looking for? What's important to them? So I put together, a focus group, people in the industry, people not in the industry, mom friends, school friends, all the things. And I just asked them questions. What's important to you? Because when I found my manufacturer, I thought they asked me, what are your claims going to be? Or what's important to your brand? What's going to make it different? And so I thought, well, I don't really know. I know what, a child brand is so different from an adult brand, right? So I asked my focus group, what's important to you? Allergy-free, cruelty-free, vegan, organic. What does clean mean to you? Where do you want to buy your products? What do you want it to smell like? What do you want it to look like? All these things. Some people have answers and some don't, but it's feedback, right? So I kind of just took that and created like an idea based off of my vision of what I wanted it to be.
And where are you now?
So now I am all over the place, but now I'm trademarking. I'm in, my product is in testing. We're launching with 6 lip glosses. So, I've done sampling and I've finalized the formulation. And so now it's finalizing tube design and packaging and, working on website copy and creative. And I said trademark. That was what I dealt with yesterday. So it's so interesting. I don't know. That's kind of where I'm at now. And at times I feel like, based off of my past life, oh man, I'm so behind, right? Like I should have had this done already. But then I remembering that like, this is my time and I can choose to say no, or it's not quite ready yet, or I don't like that. So it doesn't need to be on a strict 18-month from conception to counter, deadline.
And who set those deadlines anyways?
My boss, all my bosses.
But you're your boss.
Yeah. So 18-month lead time, from inception to on counter. And so we had stages that we had to go through in marketing to make sure we got there. And sometimes things, would launch a little bit later and that's okay. But that was kind of
you're talking about at Estee Lauder. Like you're talking about
multi-billion
dollar business with like access to every single, everything in the world. Like I mean, your expectations, you can have really high expectations, which you will, but you're running a household and you're running, you have 2 children. Like it's okay.
It is okay. And I'm realizing, my husband tells me all the time, remember, you're the boss.
Yeah.
You can decide when you want these things done. And I said, I know, it's just so ingrained in me to like have things done at a certain time. And, when you're a new founder and it doesn't work that way, you have to pivot and move and things, change, and that's okay.
So when you think about the brand, like when you did that, when you meditated and it all came to you, when you saw it, did you see a full makeup line? Did you see a kit when you visualize, or did you visualize pieces, or did you think, I don't know what it's going to be. I'm going to let it like happen organically and naturally.
I wish that I didn't know and it would happen organically. I knew exactly how I wanted it to be.
That
And so now
doesn't
it's
surprise me.
managing my expectations of like, well, so I saw it. I saw, sets and palettes and, brushes and makeup bags and gift with purchase and all these things, samples and smells and textures. And I like knew exactly how I wanted it to appear on the skin, the finish. I saw all of those things. But now it's interesting, like what I saw and what I'm creating. In fact, the pink that I put together, I called my old boss, who is a dear friend now. And I was like, the pink is great, but it's not like the Barbie pink I wanted. Like, and she said to me, which I thought was really great advice, she said, "What's your brand ethos?" And I said, well, it's important to me that it's clean, that it's safe, and that it's playful. And she's like, okay, so that being said, is it more important to you to use synthetic dyes to get to that exact color of Barbie pink that you want? Or is it better to have a plant-based pigment that isn't quite the color you had in your mind, but is going to be, meet your brand ethos? And I thought, oh, you're right. It's important that I follow my brand ethos. So I did. So I went all plant-based pigments. It is really interesting to see, some of my competitive brands and how they've listed their products, and they're clean and all this and that. When you're going through this process, you see certain ingredients or dyes or things, and you realize like, wow, sure, it's not, it's regulated by the FDA, but is it really clean for kids? So I decided that'll be my point of difference. Like it's going to be very clean. Like they can essentially eat the entire tube if they want, and it's not going to hurt them.
I think that's a really beautiful and really beautifully said and great point. I think if you can always like bring it back to that, and you can always say, no, I'm going to stay true to my mission. I think that to me, that's what creates success long term. And that's what keeps you honed and keeps you really grounded. And it keeps your company like safe from teetering. I think that's what allows you to really be successful. To always say, I'm going to always bring it back. Like I'm going to whenever you're wavering or teetering, you can always bring it back to, well, am I staying true to what I wanted to do? Like, am I staying on path? I think it's okay to pivot, and it's okay to turn and make decisions because you have to, or you need to sort of you need to like figure it out. But if you can always stay true, that's how you have long-term success. 100%. 100%.
Yeah, I think it's grounding. And when she said that to me, I knew the answer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You knew it. And you knew that if you pivoted from that answer, that you wouldn't feel good about it, and that you couldn't put the label on the box, right? And if you couldn't put the label on the box, you couldn't really stand behind it. And therefore, what's the point? And it's really fascinating to know and to see that like there's so many brands out there that aren't clean or aren't truly organic. And so what does it mean anyways? And if you are, then you can say that with full confidence and 100% clarity. And I think that is the difference maker. And when you go up in front of focus groups, or you're standing behind the table selling it when you start, or going and having sample sales and pop-ups and all those things, that's what you can say. You can say your daughter can stick this tube of lip gloss in her mouth and chew it, and you don't have to rip it out, freaking out. Like, it's okay. It's like that cookie dough that they sell where you're like, you can eat it raw. There's nothing in it that's going to make you sick. It's totally fine. Yeah. I think that's amazing. I think that's really cool. So without putting pressure on, it is pretty cool that you know exactly like what you want. but a lot of pressure, I can imagine, especially for
Mhm.
someone like you who's a perfectionist and wants it to happen. And my guess is wants it to happen really quickly. I think part of your struggle is most likely going to be allowing it to happen over time and allowing it to come about. How do you see the next few years unfolding? Like,
I
are you going to give
already,
yourself moments to breathe? Are you going to, like, because you have to? Like, how do you see this playing out?
I remember telling my old boss, by the way, she hates that I say that. She's like, we're friends. I'm like, okay, but you were my boss. And she's, in any event, I kind of told her, I said, oh, I had this idea and this and that. She's like, okay, Joanna, you're on year 5. You need to bring it back to year 1 and find your hero. Like, what's your hero product going to be? Which one is going to stand out and why? Right. So I have an enormous amount of ideas, when it comes up to skincare. I think, first of all, the kids or children's personal care products space is exploding. I mean,
Hmm.
there's so many clean hair care, skin care, face wash, SPF, deodorants, all the things. So I think I have a lot of ideas for each, but my next after the lip gloss would be probably like a palette or a set. I'm not reinventing the wheel because these things have been done before, but I think based off of my experience and what my needs are as a mom, and again, my focus group, I think there's a lot of gray space. So I think there's room for all of us. And in fact, a lot of the competitors that I've been looking at who've led the way, there's maybe a handful of like clean kids play makeup competitors. They've done an amazing job and I'm so inspired by them all. But I think there's room, like I said, the gray space is huge. And I think there's room for all of us. And each kid, like every woman or adult, has different needs or concerns or things that they're interested in, right? Um, so yeah,
Okay.
that's the next step.
I like it. I like it. I like it a lot. How do you balance launching product and then launching like marketing? Like, how do you
So
balance putting out, building the Instagram page and building the media and building the website for it? Like, how do you balance that?
it's kind of right now I'm doing a little bit of both, but I'm realizing even though, my background is in marketing, creative and PR, for me to do it is like I have an idea what I want, but like I need someone to execute it now because my time is so, you know, I don't have as much time as I would like to be on it. So I'm doing a little bit of both. But I think, when you launch a brand, it's all hands on deck. It has to be big and huge. So that is different from like a product launch versus a holiday launch or, that kind of thing. So the initial launch has to be huge. There's a lot of lead in, marketing that needs to happen, a lot of teasing that happens, a lot of, initial mailings and PR press kits and, all the fun things. My first thought is, okay, I need to build this website so I have something that, that can be shopped, direct to consumer. And then I need to have a space, on Instagram shop. And then I need to kind of build this customer, community, customer retention. And so maybe that looks like enter your email to know the latest and greatest or when we're launching or, to get 10% off, that kind of thing. Making sure the website is easy, user friendly, pretty, beautiful, fun, all the things, but also engaging enough that you want to be a part of the know or the community piece. That's where I'm at now, but that is going to take time. And I don't know, my thought is maybe I keep pushing out the launch date, but like maybe in the fall. I don't want to launch around holiday because I think that's just a really competitive space with brands who are already established. So, if that's the case, then maybe I'd push it out to the new year. But yeah, that's the idea. Yeah,
Well,
we'll
that's
see.
cool. And
Yeah.
tell us about the name.
So the name is Lillipop, and it's a combination of my daughter's 2 names, Lily and Poppy. And it's kind of like a play off of, candy, lollipop, right? So There's some candy themes, although it's not, actually made it so there's no taste, there's no flavor to the lip glosses because I don't want them to eat it. I mean, it smells fun, but yeah, it's just fun, playful, inclusive of all skin tones. I often feel when I was doing my research, a lot of kids' play makeup is not so inclusive, to darker skin tones. I think a lot of it was like, this generic powder blue eyeshadow. Like, who is that looking great on? Maybe 3 people, So I wanted to make colors that little girls and boys of all color skin tones can kind of enjoy and play and feel like their best selves in. And everything's very sheer, age appropriate.
But also,
Yeah.
why would we encourage little kids to put blue eyeshadow on?
I don't know.
It's
I
so
think
weird.
a lot of these, I think it's a lot of like the mass products that either, you find kind of randomly in a store and it's like, oh, this is a kid's build your own kind of thing. But then you put it on, it like stains the mouth or stains the lip. Forget your clothes. I mean, that's finished. So yeah, I don't really know because a lot of the feedback I've gotten from moms are like, please, if you're going to make a red, which my daughter would be so excited about, please don't make it like a matte, like red, which is 100% true. Like maybe, fine. There's maybe some like kids that are doing competitions and maybe they need stage makeup, but like for everyday play, not necessary. It should just be sheer enough to like have them see some type of payoff, right? I think my kids, when they played with things that are clear, they love it, but they're also like, oh, they kind of wish it had a little bit more pizzazz like mom's things. And so I did want to give them some wash of color, but not, overwhelming. Definitely age appropriate.
Yeah. And if I had this going on in my house, which I didn't, I would say no glitter.
I know the glitter is, oh gosh. Anytime we have like a craft with glitter, I'm like, oh, can we just do this outside? Because
When we had glitter, when
impossible.
my kids I remember my last kid, my youngest, when he would have glitter projects at preschool, and then I'd go in to pick him up, and there was a trash can like by the door, and I would dump it in the trash can before we even got in the car. And there was like moms who'd look at me and they'd be like, doesn't even make it to the car. I was like, no, I don't want glitter in my car. Do you know how long it takes to get glitter out of your car? And they would be like, you're the worst person ever. And I was like, sure, let me know 10 years from now when this is like not your oldest child. Then like when you have other kids, no glitter.
Totally. And also like, you girl, like if you want glitter in your car, that's great for you. But I'm not going to do that.
No glitter. No glitter.
But
glitter
we
is
do
fun.
have
I get it.
glitters.
I get it.
Yeah. There's 2 lip glosses with glitter. One's like a gold glitter. One's like a rainbowy glitter. But they're, suspended in gloss. And they're not like, there's not like a ton of payoff of glitter coming. It's more of like they can see it in the tube. And then when they, they're like, oh, it's so fun. It's not like they're full on, disco ball.
Hey, my
lips.
favorite nail polish right now is just on my toes, has like a little glitter shine to it. I'm not going to lie. But it's not like glitter flying everywhere. But I'm just a mean mom, but that's okay.
No, I
If
get
I had
it.
had girls, I would have had glitter everywhere. Like, tell me about it. If I have granddaughters, I'm going to let them put glitter everywhere. I don't care. I assure you. I will give up all control.
As long as it's not on the rug, because it will never get out of the rug.
That's fine. As long as it's not on the rug. I'll put like some stuff down. I'll put like mats or cloths down. Well, I think this is very exciting. I think starting a business is amazing. Being an entrepreneur is incredible. And I think that you're doing this in such a thoughtful way and making it truly clean and truly like usable in a way that moms can feel and dads can feel really good and okay with it and not have to be hovering and watching and just allowing their kids to play and be creative and excited about painting each other's faces or their bodies or whatever it is, and to express themselves and then get to a point that, your mom and my mom were, which is be your best self and be powerful and strong and beautiful, however that translates to be. Even if they were cringing a little inside when we were, doing crazy things on our face, I think is really the best thing. And to start that at a young age and allowing that freedom of expression and ways to feel beautiful and just have fun. And like you said, they're going to go through your stuff. So let them do it in a safe, fun way. I think it's amazing. I think it's really cool.
Thank you.
I think it's really awesome. And I am really excited to see the final product, however long it takes, Adrianna.
Yes, it's going to be great. It's coming along. I'm trying to be kind to myself. My daughter said the other day, it's so cool, Mom. I tell all my friends at school, my mom is making her own makeup. It's so cool that you're doing that. And I said, oh, thanks. It's important for her too, to know that it's okay to have dreams or ideas and try, right? And I always tell her, both of them, whenever you have something that you want in your life, or, you have a goal in mind, all you have to do is try and never give up.
Mm-hmm.
So even for me, right, even though it's taking longer than I would like it to, just never give up. Just try and see how it goes. And it'll be great.
I think it'll be great.
What it's going to be.
And enjoying the process is a really important lesson. And knowing they're watching you enjoy the process, even if enjoying it's hard and even if enjoying it has stumbles and hurdles, I think that's a huge piece of it too. And I think there's another piece that you've touched on multiple times, which is getting to a point where you're asking for help and you're leaning on people that have experience, or more experience or deeper experience in pieces of the puzzle that you might not have gone as deep in your career prior to this moment, is such a huge piece, right? And it's allowing your ego to take a back seat and say, I need help and I need assistance, and just like leaning into those people allows for your success to shine. And that's a hard thing to do, a really hard thing to do, especially for women. I think we feel like we have to do it all. And if we didn't do every little piece on our own, we're somehow not able to take the success. It's a really important piece of building your own business or just of being successful. It's saying, I don't know it all. It's not something that you should know how to do. Like, it's unexpected and it's not some gift that we're all given, that we're like all knowable. So lean on those people and ask for their help. And people are excited to give it to you, right? And excited to have you pick up those pieces and put them all together with their help and assistance.
Totally. I'm not the expert of everything.
No, nor should you be. Nor should you be. Nor should you be. And also this idea that, to take your time, because you don't get these moments forever, right? So being able to take your time and build this brand and build this business while being a fabulous mom to your kids and being home with your family is amazing. And so if that means you're going to take a little more time, that's okay too, because you're getting kind of to do it all.
Yes.
It just means you're not doing it all super fast,
Right.
And that's really a blessing. It's really cool.
It is a blessing.
It is. Well, I'm not going to take up any more of your day and your time, so you can get back to it while your kids are at school. Thank you so much. This was awesome. You were great. And I'm super excited to see Lillipop pop and come together. And I really want to see your logo and your colors and your branding.
Happy to share.
I am. Have a great day, sweetie. And we
Thank
will
you so much.
be continued.
Yes. Thanks, Amy.